Mohon panitia.
Masalah pertanian adalah kebutuhan keseharian masyarakat. Tidak ada orang yang butuh makan.
Jangan pernah engkau putus asa, karena aku ada di sini. Pastikan kita selalu bersama. Bersama pasti kita bisa. Kobarkanlah semangatmu, hati ini akan kuberikan untuk Indonesia. Kobarkan semangatmu untuk Indonesia. Korbankanlah jiwamu selalu.
Negara kita negara besar yang tidak boleh kalah dari negara lain. Setuju?
Kementan menjamin ketersediaan pangan selama pandemi COVID-19 hingga lebaran nanti.
Menteri Pertanian Syahrul Yassin Limpo melakukan kunjungan ke sejumlah perusahaan penyedia bahan makanan.
Pemerintah melalui Kementerian Pertanian memastikan stok pangan aman selama bulan Ramadan hingga Hari Raya Idul Fitri.
Menteri Pertanian Syahrul Yassin Limpo menyatakan Kementerian Pertanian mengupayakan kemudahan distribusi pangan melalui pasar mitra tani.
Hadirkan perilaku kita untuk mengabdi pada rakyat.
Untuk Indonesia, kobarkan semangatmu. Untuk Indonesia, korbankanlah jiwamu. Untuk Indonesia, korbankan semangatmu. Untuk Indonesia, korbankanlah jiwamu selalu.
Masalah pertanian adalah kebutuhan keseharian masyarakat. Tidak ada orang yang butuh makan.
Jangan pernah engkau putus asa, karena aku ada di sini. Pastikan kita selalu bersama. Bersama pasti kita bisa. Kobarkanlah semangatmu, hati ini akan kuberikan untuk Indonesia. Kobarkan semangatmu untuk Indonesia. Korbankanlah jiwamu selalu.
Negara kita negara besar yang tidak boleh kalah dari negara lain. Setuju?
Kementan menjamin ketersediaan pangan selama pandemi COVID-19 hingga lebaran nanti.
Menteri Pertanian Syahrul Yassin Limpo melakukan kunjungan ke sejumlah perusahaan penyedia bahan makanan.
Pemerintah melalui Kementerian Pertanian memastikan stok pangan aman selama bulan Ramadan hingga Hari Raya Idul Fitri.
Menteri Pertanian Syahrul Yassin Limpo menyatakan Kementerian Pertanian mengupayakan kemudahan distribusi pangan melalui pasar mitra tani.
Adakah perilaku kita untuk mengabdi pada rakyat?
Untuk Indonesia, kobarkan semangatmu. Untuk Indonesia, korbankanlah jiwamu. Untuk Indonesia, kobarkan semangatmu. Untuk Indonesia.
let in. So maybe we're still waiting for a while for the DG that also trying to into this meeting conference. The topic of the current condition of agriculture in Australia, Asia, and Asia Pacific during the COVID-19 pandemic and its strategies to secure food supply. Today, we are honored to have with us. The first is Professor Dedi Nur Samsi, the DG of Indonesian Agriculture Agency of Extension and Human Resource Development. Good afternoon, Pak Dedi.
Good afternoon, selamat siang Bapak
And then
semua.
the second is Dr. Peter Horn, the General Manager Country Program of ACR. Selamat pagi,
Ya.
Pak Peter.
Selamat
Morning, Pak Peter.
sore. Ya.
Di Australia pagi ya.
Sekarang sore.
Oh, sekarang sore. Okay. And also Dr. Siswoyo and team, the Director of Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic or we call Polbangtan Bogor. Selamat sore Pak Siswoyo dan tim. Dr. Rajiman and team, the Director of Polbangtan, Yogyakarta and Magelang. Selamat sore Pak Rajiman.
Selamat sore.
And Dr. Bambang Sudarmanto and the team, the Director of Polbangtan Malang. Selamat sore Pak Bambang.
Selamat sore Ibu, selamat sore semuanya.
Okay, that's all of the resource person for web seminar today. And also I want to introduce myself. I am Ida Widya Arsanti, the Director of Indonesia Center for Education Agriculture in Ministry of Agriculture. So all of us already understand that the COVID-19 pandemic has been impacting human life across the globe, including Australia, Asia, and the Pacific. Government in every country are implementing policy to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic, such as asking people to stay at home and avoid the crowd or social distancing. As a result, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced all elements of society to change their activities, including the agricultural sectors. The production of agriculture product has been disrupted due to the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting food supplies to the customer are threatened. Moreover, the movement restriction implemented by the local government have impacted the farm labor availability and hindered the production and marketing activities within the food system. Consequently, in order to adapt with the COVID-19 pandemic and to implement the right measure, each government in Australia, Asia, and Pacific have developed different strategies to mitigate the magnitude of the COVID-19 implication. Therefore, to share the experiences, the Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Indonesia is inviting related stakeholders to briefly elaborate the measures that have been taken by the government through this international webinar. So, for the first resource person, I would like to invite Professor Dedi Nur Samsi that would be deliver the topic of policy response to COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, particularly for agriculture sector. Professor Dedi Nur Samsi, time is yours.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Kapus. Thank you very much, Bu Kapusdik. Firstly, I would like to special thanks to Peter Horn from Asia, Australia. Good evening, Peter. How are you doing today?
Good evening, thank you. I think I am colder here than everybody else.
Oh, really cold. Yeah, Indonesia is always warm. Yeah. Thank you, Peter, for joining us, and also thank you very much for your sharing the activities in Australia because of COVID-19. I think Australia has many experience how to solve this COVID-19 in relation to agricultural sector, especially. Again, thank you, Peter. Juga terima kasih Bapak sekalian yang sudah bergabung di webinar ini. Tentunya kita sangat berharap kita saling memberikan sharing pengalaman bagaimana mengatasi dampak dari COVID-19 yang sudah meluluhlantakkan kehidupan kita. Hopefully Peter can understand in Indonesian language in bahasa ini.
Please. No problem.
Okay, maybe we would like to deliver mixed languages, sometimes English and sometimes bahasa. I'm sorry. Mungkin langsung ke PowerPoint. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to present about policy response to COVID-19 pandemic in our country, in Indonesia, particularly for agricultural sector. Next, please. We can see here that COVID-19, yeah, has impact to all of our life. Yeah. In the world right now, in 27 and 28th of May this year, there's more than 5.6 million people was confirmed to COVID-19. And similar from that, yeah, about more than 355,000 people, yeah, was dead because of COVID-19. And then about more than 1.7 million people recovered. Yeah. So this is in world conditions. How about Indonesia? Next, please. So until right now, in our country, Indonesia, yeah, there was about 23, yeah, more than 23,000 people was infected by COVID-19, and about more than 1,073 were dead because of COVID-19, and more than 6,000 people were covered, yeah, until right now. So it means that COVID-19 very significantly, yeah, impact on our life. Yeah. Of course, including agricultural sector. Yeah. Next, please.
Next.
So how impacts, yeah, COVID-19 on agriculture, particularly in our country? Yeah. I think we all know that COVID-19, yeah, impact in agricultural sector. There are disruption in agricultural production system, of course. Yeah. There are also disruption in marketing of agricultural product. Yeah. Disruption also in transporting agricultural product to consumers. Yeah. Also disruption in food supply. So we can see in several media, in several mass media, many farmers, yeah, in all of our country, in Indonesia, yeah, couldn't sell their product because of COVID-19. They couldn't distribute their product to other location, to other district, to other province because of lockdown. Yeah. In several locations in Indonesia now, yeah, has still lockdown because of COVID-19. So that the farmers, yeah, was difficult to distribute his product to other location, yeah, to get their consumers, yeah, to get their product, particularly horticultural products, yeah, and also fruit products, yeah, etc. Also, there is disruption in supply of agro input. Yeah. Farmer was difficult to get fertilizer. Farmer was difficult also to get seed, yeah, to get pesticide, insecticide, etc. So that is why the production system also was disrupted by COVID-19. Yeah, of course, yeah. Farmers couldn't continue their production in their land, yeah, both in lowland and also in highland, in dry land. Yeah. So also farmers have difficulties in increasing, yeah, financial sources. because of course, yeah, because of lockdown, farmers couldn't sell his products, so that's why they couldn't get money. It means they couldn't get finance source, yeah, for continue his activities in their land. Yeah, this is our problem. I think this is also a code in many countries, I think, in the world. Yeah, maybe including in Australia also. Okay, next, please. So this is President direction in responding to COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in agricultural sector. The first one is social safety net. So that is why in the current program, yeah, we develop a social safety net program in whole of location, in whole of province, district, and sub-districts. Yeah. And also governments get subsidy of credit interest rates. Yeah. Government now develop KUR, kredit usaha rakyat, people credit, I think. Credit, we call it kredit usaha rakyat. Low rate, yeah, of interest, yeah, only 6% per year. And also credit scheme for farmers, yeah. Because of course, yeah, farmers couldn't get money, so that is why they couldn't also to pay back to bank, yeah. And then also non-fiscal measures. I think we have a lot of program for non-fiscal measures, yeah, from government to farmers particularly. Okay, next, please. So this is the Ministry of Agricultural Policy response, yeah, to COVID-19 pandemic in our country. So actually there is three programs, yeah. Program jangka pendek, jangka menengah, dan jangka panjang. Short term or SOS program, and the second one is medium term program, and the third one is long term program. Ya, kita sudah mempersiapkan ketiga program ini dengan baik, ya. Tetapi saat ini kita masih fokus di short term program. So we established already about this program, short term, medium term, and long term program. But right now, we are still focusing on short term programs. Short term programs including labor intensive programs. So last week, Pak Jokowi, our president, has declared, has get a statement that poor farmer also will can get labor intensive program. Alhamdulillah. Ya. Pak Presiden sudah menyatakan bahwa petani dan nelayan juga dalam waktu yang tidak terlalu lama akan mendapatkan labor intensive program. Insya Allah sekalian. The other one of short-term program is social safety net. Social safety net in agricultural sector, alhamdulillah, also are developing, are implementing by my colleagues, yeah, from Directorate General of Food Crop, yeah, Directorate General of Horticultural Crop, yeah, Directorate General of Animal, yeah, and also Directorate General of Estate Crop, and also Directorate General of PSP, Infrastructure. We have a lot of social safety net program, including maintenance of irrigation canal, land preparation, etc. Yeah. So every Directorate General now are implementing the social safety net program. Yeah, of course, yeah. Our Directorate Jenderal also ya, menggerakkan para penyuluh untuk mensupport ya social safety net yang sedang dilaksanakan oleh teman-teman dari Direktorat Jenderal Teknis. Ya. Also our extension workers in all of country in Indonesia, of course, support, ya, full support on social safety net, ya, which are implementing by my colleagues, by our colleagues from Technical Directorate General. Ya. Of course, the third Southern Corp is ensuring food supply, ya, for all of citizens of Indonesia, about 266, 67 million people. Yeah. How about medium terms program? So, in medium term program, of course, yeah, we continue ensuring food supply for all of people of Indonesia. Yeah. I think more than 267 million people. And also improving farmers' welfare and promoting export. Ministry of Agriculture actually, yeah, has strategic program. We call it Kosratani, Komando Strategi Pertanian Tingkat Kecamatan. I don't know in English. uh,
Next.
maybe, huh? Yeah, Komando Strategi Pertanian. Yeah, I think this is the program to build our BPP, our sub-district extension office. Yeah, we have extension office in sub-district level. We call it BPP, Balai Penyuluhan Pertanian. And then now, yeah, we develop BPP Instru Konsultani. Kita membangun BPP ya menjadi konsultani ya dengan memperkuat IT dan memperkuat sarana prasarana lain serta memperkuat para penyuluh kita yang ada di BPP. Yeah. So that is why Konsultani is to develop our BPP, our extension office in sub-district level, and also all of extension workers in BPP, in Konsultani also will develop, are developed in our program, in our Konsultani program. Yeah, next please. Yeah, this is short-term strategies. Yeah, so I explained already that of course the first one or the first program in short-term strategies is labor intensive program. So the purpose of the labor intensive program is to ensure farmers, including farm workers and sharecroppers, are in the field to produce food for people. Therefore, agriculture must continue its rule and never stop. Yeah. Agriculture supply food, for us, for all of the people in our country. So the food is the main problem, yeah, beside COVID-19. So that is why agriculture must continue every time. Yeah. And then it never stop. Yeah. Because stop agriculture means stop food supply. So it means it's very dangerous for us if food supply was destroyed. So the other purpose is to ensure all agriculture input are really to support farmers to grow their crops. I mentioned already that agricultural input like fertilizer, like pesticide, like seed, yeah, were destroying, yeah, because of COVID-19. So this is why we have to ensure all of agriculture input to our farmers. Yeah. to make farmers continue grow in their land, of course. And then social safety net. Social safety net is to ensure farmers' food supply, both quality and quality across Indonesia, especially for poor farmers. So we identified already that there is more than 2.7 million of poor farmers because of COVID-19. Ya, and alhamdulillah Pak Presiden sudah menyatakan akan membantu food farmers dengan berbagai program, utamanya program social safety net. Alhamdulillah, our president has declared that government will support food farmers, will support more than 2.7 million of food farmers in our country by getting some agricultural input like pesticide, like fertilizer and seed, and also some money for operation in their land. Next, please. This is medium-term strategies. In medium-term strategies, we are using Konstratani approach. I mentioned already that Konstratani is in sub-district level. Konstratani means BPP, Balai Penyuluhan Pertanian, yang diperkuat sarana prasarananya, yang diperkuat para penyuluhnya dengan berbagai pelatihan, dengan berbagai magang dan sebagainya, sehingga kemampuannya meningkat. Dia bisa mendorong petani untuk terus meningkatkan produktivitasnya di sawah, meningkatkan produktivitasnya di kebun. So in Konstratani, we are developing IT, information and communication technology, to and then to increase extension worker capacity building for extension worker, in order to support farmers in lowland and in upland. So Konstratani also to ensure all agricultural extension officers are providing sufficient information to farmers, as well as the regency, provincial and central government. So actually we have extension workers, extension officers from sub-district level, district level, province level, and central level. So of course, in Konstratani, all of extension officers, all of extension workers are developed by Konstratani. And the third one is to work hand in hand with the central governments by reporting data to enable the central government act with specific intervention. Of course, our country is very large, it's very large. So we have a lot of problem, and very specific in every province, very specific in every district and also sub-district. So that is why central governments will intervene to the problem, specific problems, depend on the location, depend on the sub-district, depend on district level or province level. Next, please. Ya, lanjut.
Next, lanjut. Halo, bisa dilanjutkan?
Mau dilanjutkan PowerPoint-nya?
Pak Kodrat, bisa dilanjutkan?
Yeah, of course, I would like to explain about Konstratani. Coba back, kembali satu. Ya, This is Kosratani. The rules of Kosratani in sub-district level. The first rule is Center for Data and Information. Yeah, of course, particularly agricultural information, including climate data, including information of extension workers, information of farmers, level of farmers, Poktan, Gapoktan, farmers group, in level sub-district, in level district, etc. So extension workers in BPP or in Kosratani, every time, regularly, collects that data, including luas tambah tanam, including harvest area, including productivity, including kind of commodities, etc. Every time. So and then they report to district level, and then report to province level, and then report to central level. But in this Kosratani, we have, of course, we develop IT, information technology program by using Internet of Things, also using computer, a lot of facilities for IT. So that is why from Kosratani dapat melaporkan secara langsung data-data pertanian ke pusat. So Kosratani could report all of agricultural data from sub-district level to central level, to Jakarta, to agriculture, to Ministry of Agriculture. So the second rules of Kosratani is Center of Agriculture Development at district level. So actually, Ministry of Agriculture have a lot of program. So every Directorate General, at least has one strategic program, which is implemented by local government until sub-district level, until Kosratani. For example, Badan Ketahanan Pangan, so the Agency for Food Security, has strategic program. We call it family farming. So family farming now are implementing by local government, province level, province government, until district government, until sub-district government. So in sub-district government, in sub-district level, Kosratani would implement this program, would implement this family farming in every sub-district level, particularly in the agricultural production center. So the third rules of Kosratani is learning center, particularly for rural yard farmers. We call it millennial farmers. Millennial farmers. Millennial farmers can learn about everything in relation to agriculture, mulai dari hulu sampai hilir. Bagaimana cara mendapatkan modal, bagaimana caranya mendapatkan pinjaman dari bank, kredit, bagaimana caranya ngolah tanah, bagaimana caranya tanam, bagaimana caranya memelihara tanaman, bagaimana caranya panen, bagaimana caranya ngolah hasil panen, pengolahan hasil panen, bagaimana caranya mendistribusikan, bagaimana caranya menjual agar mendapatkan harga yang layak. Itu semua dipelajari di dalam Kosratani. Oleh karena itu di dalam Kosratani also has sekolah lapang, field school. So para petani, para penyuluh, farmers, extension workers, and also government officers together are studying about how to prepare our soil, our land, and then how to plant our community, yeah, and then how to harvest, how to process after harvest, yeah, how to distribute our products, and how to get price, good price, yeah, of course, for farmers to get a lot of money. Yeah, all of aspects are studied in the Kostratani. So they learn everything about agriculture in Kostratani. So the fourth rules is a center for agribusiness consultation. So the paradigm of agriculture now, ya, harus berubah. Ya, harus to be changed. Harus kita rubah. Ya. Dulu yang namanya pertanian itu tanam, petik, jual. Long time ago, the paradigm of agriculture is how to plant, how to harvest, and how to sell it. But now, I think that paradigm is not enough. Paradigma tersebut tidak cukup. Sekarang sebelum petani olah tanah, sebelum tanam, dia harus memikirkan bagaimana caranya mencari modal. Bagaimana caranya mendapatkan duit untuk modal olah tanah, untuk modal tanam, untuk modal pemeliharaan, pemupukan, penggunaan pestisida, perawatan organisme tanaman, dan sebagainya. Jadi sebelum tanam itu dia harus berpikir bagaimana caranya mendapatkan duit untuk modal. Ya, modal itu dari mana? Tentu saja modal dari foundation. Ya, modal dari foundation dari bank. Ya. Karena mendapatkan modal dari bank berarti aktivitas pertanian itu harus menguntungkan. Harus dapat untung, harus dapat duit. Kalau nggak dapat duit, kalau nggak dapat untung, tidak usah dilanjutkan. Atau apapun yang terjadi, pertanian itu harus menguntungkan. Oleh karena itu perlu dipikirkan matang-matang. Sebelum tanam harus dipikirkan. Nanti kalau sudah panen, dijualnya kemana? Oleh karena itu, petani juga harus menguasai supply dan demand. Ya, di mana permintaan untuk komoditas yang dia tanam? Berapa ton permintaannya? Kapan dia minta? Berdasarkan data-data itu, baru dia mikir mundur ke belakang. Misalnya, dia melihat bahwa komoditas tomat, misalnya, Bogor memerlukan tomat ya setiap bulan itu kurang lebih misalkan 5 ton. Jakarta memerlukan tomat mungkin lebih dari 10 ton. Harus didata. Ya. Kemudian hitung mundur. Tomat umurnya berapa bulan? Sampai dengan pengolahan tanah kurang lebih 2 bulan. Artinya untuk suplai bulan Januari dia harus berpikir mundur. Desember, November. Artinya awal November dia harus mempersiapkan lahan, harus olah tanah, tanam, kemudian nanti begitu Desember dia suplai ke Jakarta sekian, dia suplai ke Bogor sekian, dia suplai ke Depok sekian, dia suplai ke Bekasi sekian, dan lain sebagainya. Petani harus begitu sekarang. Nah, di dalam Kostratani ini, ya, segala macam terkait dengan agribisnis dibahas, dikonsultasikan. So that is why farmers have to study about all of aspects agricultural business, including how to get money for modals, and then how to get money for preparation of fertilizer, for buying of pesticide, for buying of seed, etc. So all of aspect agricultural step in relation to agricultural business were discussed in Konstratani. So that is why Konstratani also have roles as a center for agribusiness consultation. And fifth, Konstratani also have a rules as center for market development and partnership. So berbicara mengenai pertanian itu harus berpikir mundur. Dulu. Bagaimana kita mendapatkan informasi dari market. So that is why market intelligence is very, very important for our farmers. So before activating in his land, farmers has no wealth about the market. And then of course, farmer also has to develop partnership with other farmers, with other actors of agriculture, including businessmen. So ini adalah hal yang penting bagi petani. Pertanian harus menguntungkan. Oleh karena itu, petani harus menguasai berbagai aspek bisnis pertanian dari hulu sampai hilir. Nah, oleh karena itu, Konstratani juga dibangun untuk membantu petani agar dia itu mampu menguasai market dan juga menjalin kerjasama dengan partner, dengan para petani lain, dengan para pengusaha, tentu juga dengan stakeholders, dengan klien, sehingga nanti pada saat dia panen order lancar. Kenapa? Karena dia sudah kuasai itu pasar. Dia sudah kuasai itu bagaimana caranya mendapatkan order. Dia sudah kuasai bagaimana caranya mendistribusikan produknya kemana, kapan, berapa ton. Nah, ini yang akan kita bangun di dalam medium term program. So, of course, we would like to develop Konstratani in every sub-district level to develop our agricultural activities in sub-district level, including, of course, in village level. Because talking about agricultural land, of course, agricultural land, lowland, dry land, wetland, etc. All of our land is in village level, is in sub-district level, not province level, not central level, apalagi Jakarta. Enggak. Jadi berbicara mengenai gerakan pembangunan pertanian itu semuanya ada di daerah, semuanya ada di desa, semuanya ada di kecamatan, semuanya ada di BPP, semuanya ada di Konstratani. Kemudian untuk long term program, saya kira kita juga sudah menyiapkan. So actually we already prepared our long term of our programs in relation to solve the COVID-19. Misalnya seperti program-program peningkatan produktivitas, program-program peningkatan ekspor, terutama untuk komoditas-komoditas tertentu yang mempunyai keunggulan kompetitif dan komparatif. Utamanya adalah buah-buahan maupun sayuran tropika. Saat ini kita mempunyai komoditas namanya porang. Porang itu kebutuhan untuk ekspornya luar biasa. Saat ini kuota permintaan dari berbagai negara itu belum terpenuhi. Jadi porang ini mempunyai prospek yang sangat besar untuk ekspor. Nah, di dalam jangka panjang saat ini tetap kita perhatikan itu komoditas peningkatan ekspor. Kemudian jangka panjang kita membangun mulai dari bagaimana nursery dari porang, bagaimana cara menyiapkan benih, menyiapkan bibit kemudian bagaimana cara berbudidaya yang baik agar nanti produktivitasnya tinggi, kemudian bagaimana caranya ya memproses porang ini, ya. Bahkan ya, ke depan perlu kita pikirkan. Jadi right now we export porang in raw material form. So I think in the future, yeah, we have to think. We have to sell our porang to the outbound, ya, in processing form. Ya. Jadi setelah diproses dulu, baru kita jual, baru kita ekspor. Kenapa? Karena value added of porang itu luar biasa. Ya. Peningkatan keuntungan, peningkatan harga. Ya, setelah mengalami processing itu luar biasa. Nah, oleh karena itu ke depan kita harus memikirkan bagaimana processing komoditas-komoditas yang bisa diekspor itu dilaksanakan di Indonesia dengan baik, ya, sehingga kita bisa menjual dalam bentuk olahan, bukan raw material. Nah, ini dalam jangka waktu panjang ini harus kita pikirkan. Ya, bukan hanya komoditas porang, tetapi banyak komoditas-komoditas lain, terutamanya komoditas perkebunan. Komoditas perkebunan kita untuk ekspor luar biasa. Ada kopi, ada kakao, ada karet, ya, ada lada, dan sebagainya. Nah, tentu ke depan kita harus berpikir bagaimana menjual kopi, tapi kopi yang sudah kita olah. Bagaimana kita menjual kakao, tapi kakao yang sudah kita olah. Jangan raw material. Jangka panjang ini yang akan kita benahi, ya. Baik, Bapak sekalian, saya kira demikian presentasi saya dan saya mohon maaf kalau ada hal-hal yang kurang benar, ya. So I think that is all. Yeah, I have presented already. Yeah, thanks again to all of participants for participating and for joining this program. Terima kasih Bu Santi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So thank you, Professor Deddy Nur Samsi, for your presentation. It's very clear that the government of Indonesia, in this case, Ministry of Agriculture, has already several policies to respond the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, included short-term and long-term policies. And the most important thing is the policies on the labor-intensive program and social safety net. And also don't forget about the Kosratani, the revitalized BPP in the sub-district level as a symptoms, whereas the agricultural development starting. So I think everybody already informed very well about the Kosratani. And Pak Peter, I hope you understand all of the Pak Deddy presentation because Pak Peter,
Sorry, Peter.
is already half Indonesian. This is half
okay, sorry. Sometimes
so
I use bahasa.
Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this international webinar, it already attended by more than 100 participants from all around Indonesia, from the research center, from Badan Litbang Pertanian, including research centers and BPTP, also present, from LIPI, and also from research communities such as Paragi, also already present, and then already attended by the researcher or lecturer for Pol Bangtan, from Polytechnic Ketapang, and also from other polytechnic in Indonesia. Already attended also from universities all around Indonesia, as IPB, Unstrat, Undip, Unsud, UIN. Yeah, there are many lecturers from UIN also joined in the seminar, and also UNRAM. Pak Dwi Praptono also joined in this seminar. Thank you. And also extension workers join in the seminar. Bapak Ibu penyuluh, terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Juga dari dinas, Bapak Ibu dari dinas, tadi saya lihat ada dari Dinas Kalimantan Tengah, from Agriculture Extension Office also join in this webinar. Thank you. And then I also want to greet some important persons here. Ibu Siti Munifah, the Secretary General of Badan SDM, and also Bu Leli Nuryati, the Director of Extension di Badan SDM, and also Bu Mirah Nuryanti, the Country Manager of Indonesia, that make this international webinar possible. Professor Dr. Ahmad Suryana, and also Dr. Arif Daryanto, that have been involved in the Asia Rapid Assessment on Food Security System Resilience and Emerging Risks due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, well, for the second presentation is the Dr. Peter Horn from ACR. ACR have been conducted the rapid assessment of food system resilience in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we would like to hear from you, Pak Peter. Please share to us the result of this rapid assessment. Thank you, Pak Peter. Time is yours.
Terima kasih Bu Ida. Selamat siang kepada ibu-ibu dan bapak-bapak dan yang hadir, dan salam dari Canberra.
Terima kasih.
Selamat siang.
Harap semua jadi sehat dan aman pada waktu pandemik ini. Dan saya agak lama saya tidak mempresentasikan pemaparan yang seperti ini dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi saya cara dalam bahasa Inggris kebanyakan ini. Bu Ida, can I share my screen?
Okay. Somebody maybe help Pak Peter to show the screen.
I have the button. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Bu Ida, can everyone see that?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to talk about three things today. Bu Ida and Badan Lipang Pertanian asked me to talk about the condition of agriculture in Australia now at this time of COVID-19, the global context, and I'm then going to talk about the work we are doing, including with Indonesia, in assessing the resilience of food systems because of COVID-19. So I will talk first about the current condition of agriculture in Australia and what Australia is doing in response to COVID-19 to support agriculture. So we have had a very, very challenging few years for agriculture in Australia. We have had one of the worst droughts in memory in Australia. We've also had some terrible fires this year, and at the end of those fires has come coronavirus. So we've had multiple things happen at the same time. But we have some things that are strong about our system that are helping us through this. Australia is a net exporter of food. So about 70% of the production in Australia is exported. And it's the exports that have kept our domestic food supply stable. So if you have a look at this graph, you can see, and this is from our Bureau of Agricultural Resource and Economics and Sciences. Each graph shows the dark red is the proportion of agricultural production that is exported. And you can see for sugar, for beef, for mutton, lamb, for many of these products, a very significant amount of what we produce is exported. There is a figure our chief scientist quoted that said, Australian agriculture feeds 3 times our population, or about 70 million people. But Australian knowledge is producing more agriculture around the world, contributing to feeding maybe 400 or 500 million people. But why is this important? On the next graph, you can see domestic food consumption is stable and the agriculture exports vary. So for wheat, beef, fruit, nuts, rice, the red part is our domestic food consumption. And the yellow part is the agricultural exports. So as we have droughts or we have good seasons, it's the exports that go up and down. And they are what has allowed our domestic food supply to remain relatively stable. And you can see the example with rice, although Australian rice production is quite low now. But overall, this has been something that has given stability in our food supply system. So only about 11% of food consumption by value is imported. And that 11% is actually a lot of the diversity of our food. But it's a very low percentage of overall expenditure. The other thing that's happened for us, being a big export country, is international logistics have been pretty good during this coronavirus crisis. Also, our domestic logistics have been pretty good. So even though we've had some terrible conditions for agriculture, some aspects of the way our economy is structured in agriculture have helped us through the coronavirus. And it has been raining. This has been, we talk about the condition of agriculture in response to coronavirus, but it's actually the rain that we have had over the last few months that has made a big difference. And this next map shows you why the outlook for agriculture in Australia is actually quite good. This map shows the probability of rainfall from May to July in Australia, and blue means higher than average and red means lower than average. So you can see the prospect of good rains through our winter time is very high, and it is a long time since we have seen a map that is blue. It has mostly been red in recent years. So in response to the Australian COVID-19, the Australian government has done the same thing that many governments have done, and that is locking down. So we've been in lockdown now for several months. It's not possible to travel between states in Australia right now. It hasn't been for about a month. As in Indonesia, Pak Dedi, there's been a strong support for social safety nets, especially to keep our small and medium enterprises alive. And this is an interesting lesson out of China too, that this was a big step they took and they found was probably one of the most important, was support to small and medium enterprises. The other thing is our government has put in a lot of effort into intensive testing and tracing of cases of coronavirus. And we are now moving into a very slow coming back out from our houses. Importantly, there's been no direct support to farmers. The support to farmers has been indirect through keeping the economy moving as much as possible. We did have some panic buying at the beginning, but relatively minor. There were some staple foods you could not buy in supermarkets for several weeks, but that was because people were stockpiling. It wasn't because there were any shortages. So human behavior in the early stage of the pandemic was the biggest issue, not production, not logistics, but human behavior. So in summary, while the pandemic and the drought have had impacts on Australian agriculture, food security is strong. There is potential for significant and short and medium-term impacts from the pandemic. But these are mainly through impacts on demand for food, and especially demand for Australian exports. Domestic demand has remained strong, logistics are strong, and markets are working. So that gives a summary of the condition of agriculture in Australia in response to coronavirus. I now want to turn to the global context, and Pak Dedi already gave a lot of this information, but I'd just like to touch a little bit on this. We know that all of us, Indonesia, Australia, the world, has been going through a very rapid process of globalizing agri-food chains. High rates of urbanization of populations and very much increasing complexity, which have made food systems more vulnerable to change. Things like just-in-time management, where supply chains are just in time delivering to supermarkets, work most of the time, but when you get a crisis like this, they can fall over very quickly. The high rates of urbanization are quite a significant issue. And some of you will have seen this graph from a report in 2012 showing that by 2030, I mean, we all know Indonesia is going to be a very large economy in the world, is already and getting bigger. I think the prediction now is to be a 6th or even 5th largest economy in the world by 2050. 71% of the population in cities. Australia's 85% of the population in cities. So both of our countries are very urbanized. And that means our supply chains are really critical into cities. Interestingly, so far around the world during this crisis, countries have generally responded in a relatively restrained way to food trading compared with the 2008 food price shocks. Indonesia would remember very well, and certainly other countries during 2008, there was a lot of lockdown of borders, a lot of protectionist behaviour. And I see my friend and colleague Arif Daryanto is here, who understands this much better than I do. But these behaviours, I think we learned around the world, ultimately provided very short-term benefits, but long-term, very deep costs. And it's very intriguing to see that some of the initial reaction of countries as coronavirus hit was tending towards these behaviours, but backed away. And I think Indonesia is well aware, Vietnam closed its borders for rice exports, but reopened them again after 2 days, recognising that the damage from that to their own country was going to be great. The other thing that's happening in the global context is an observation that multiple crises at once are a serious concern. And what is emerging is that some of the impacts on agriculture from coronavirus are secondary. Some of the biggest impacts are secondary. That is, it's for many countries, we are dealing with major crises with our agriculture at this particular time, whether it's biosecurity or from natural disasters. And coronavirus has reduced our ability to actually deal with those. And that has emerged quite strongly. The other thing I think I wanted to point out is the pandemic is not over yet. So if we think about the impact of coronavirus on agriculture, there's a very big danger in the world now of complacency, of us thinking it's over. I just want to show a graph of the Spanish flu in 1918. This graph shows, and I don't want to scare people, but it's good for us to know this. This graph shows the death rate per 1,000 people in England. I've seen this graph done for many other places in the world, and the shape is the same in Europe and the US and Australia. These are the dates along the bottom. That's June 1918 through to December 1918 and through to May 1919. So this graph spans 1 year. That there is the first wave. That's where we are at the moment with the coronavirus. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way that, and I'm not an epidemiologist, but listening to the epidemiologists, nobody is suggesting there will be this second wave. But we have to be aware that it could happen if we're not careful. And you can see how much bigger and how much more dangerous that can be for the world than where we are at the moment. So I commend Badan Litbang for calling this seminar, because it is really important for all of us to be aware of the potential that could happen if we're not acting quickly and in an informed way globally to manage this crisis, not only in terms of a health risk, but also the way we respond of how that health risk impacts on agriculture. On the positive side, we have a lot more in our favour now. We have much more knowledge. In 1918, they didn't know about a second wave. We know that this is possible now. We have science behind us, so there's a lot more work being done. We have policy around tracking, tracing, quarantine, isolation, and monitoring and data. And I think everyone in this webinar now, all of you are here because you're interested in science and research and the value of data, and it's going to be data and using data to manage human behaviour that could, in this case, avoid a second wave. And if we avoid a second wave, we avoid the impact on agriculture. So that graph showed a previous global health crisis, and we know that we're in a current global health crisis. The question is, can we stop this global health crisis becoming a global food crisis? That's I think a lot of us in this virtual room now are asking that question. And the answer is yes. But if action is taken, and I strongly emphasize that action based upon knowledge and science is what's needed. Pat Deddy really summarised this well. We need to keep food supply chains functioning, we need to keep labour mobile, and we need to keep inputs flowing. That's gone pretty well up until now, but we're not over yet. So we need to stay very focused on our ability to do this. We need to avoid panic responses, panic buying, panic behaviour, and panic responses around exports. All of us are better off by keeping food trade flowing and open. And in the longer term, and this is where I think all of you and certainly us in Australia are very interested, is what can we do to make our food systems more resilient in future? What do we need to invest in to do that? And already there's some ideas. Biosecurity. I mean, our food systems are dealing with problems that coronavirus has made harder to deal with. We need more biosecure food systems. Our food systems, it's even more important that they are biologically and economically sustainable and equitable. And coronavirus really only exposes the importance of that ever more. In the world, not so long ago, we were all talking about climate change as a grave crisis for agriculture. It still is, and is still a bigger threat to our agricultural production systems than coronavirus, but coronavirus is exposing the importance of that. Inclusive food systems that are providing benefits for more people and reducing waste so that more people are benefiting from that food. And I think one thing that has emerged from the coronavirus is also less complex supply chains. The more complex the supply chains, the more vulnerable they are to small interruptions or disruptions along the supply chain. And I'll just finish this section with one graph to show what I mean by less complex supply chains. This is a graph from a report by FAO in 2017, and it shows urbanisation by different regions around the world, the regions along the bottom, and the percentage of urbanisation up the top. And what it shows really is the larger cities in blue, smaller cities and towns in orange, and hinterland in green. What I really want to show you is East and Southeast Asia. And what's really important in this graph is to see that, and this is absolutely true in Indonesia, a lot of the urbanisation we talk about is happening in small cities and towns. And this is an opportunity really for less complex food supply chains that will be more robust. It creates opportunities for many of the labour-intensive farms of Indonesia to participate in those shorter and more direct supply chains into small cities. So just to finish this section of my presentation, I just want to draw attention to the participants to two recent reports that may be of interest to you. Both reports that were written just prior to the coronavirus, but are just as important now. In fact, coronavirus shows that they're even more important for us to draw the lessons from the past in building more resilient food systems in the future. On a positive note, I would emphasize again, it is very pleasing to see how the lessons from the 2008 food price crisis, which Indonesia and Australia suffered from significantly, seem to have been learned, and we have not, as a world, reacted as badly as happened at that time. I'll now go on to the last part of my presentation, and that is, as Ibu Ida mentioned, work that we are doing now to understand the resilience of food systems around the world in the context of COVID-19. So, in short, COVID-19 is what we might say is stress testing global food systems. This is a common term in engineering, that when you want to see the weakest part of a system, put it under great stress and you will see the weakest parts emerge. COVID-19 is doing that for us in food systems. So it exposes the strengths and the weaknesses in those food systems that were there before coronavirus and will still be there after coronavirus, but it gives us an opportunity to assess those strengths and weaknesses to help direct the investments we want to make in food systems to make them more resilient to future shocks. So the work that we are doing, and we're doing this with Indonesia and Philippines, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, and the Pacific, is to not understand not so much to understand how we should be responding to COVID-19 to make our food system stronger, but using this situation now to understand the gaps and the weaknesses to help us direct our investments in the future. The work we're doing with you has 3 stages. A rapid assessment that has been done with input from a lot of very smart people around the world over a period of only 3 weeks to try to understand what the biggest impacts have been. And that rapid assessment has been used to guide the stage 2. And this is where we are working now with Indonesia, an integrated assessment with particular partner countries, which will look at particular food systems and take a systematic approach along those food systems to identify the different vulnerabilities. That stage 2 is then going to inform a deep dive assessments on some common vulnerabilities across many countries. I'm going to just give you a brief summary of the outcome of this rapid assessment, which was published last week. The rapid assessment, and you can see the publication on the right, identified 10 very significant impact areas where COVID-19 responses, now we'd like to emphasize this, it's not primarily impact COVID-19 on agriculture, it's the impact of the responses of governments, private sector, human population, all stakeholders in those food systems. The impacts of those responses, what impact is it on the food systems and food security across the Indo-Pacific? I'm going to summarize those briefly here for you. The first one that's emerging around the world is large-scale migration of displaced people, which is placing very significant pressure on food and food resource systems. There's been significant movement of people from urban to rural areas in many countries. And this movement is placing quite a strain on local food systems and other natural resources. Many countries across the Indo-Pacific region rely on the availability of migrant labour to practice agriculture across all stages of the value chain, not just on farm. That's from planting to harvesting to processing. The pandemic has seen work opportunities disappear and mass movement of migrant labourers to their home countries and regions within their own countries. We've all seen this on TV. It's a major issue. As Patdedi mentioned, transport suspensions and movement restrictions, many of which have been done sensibly, but for good reasons, are disrupting the delivery of food and essential agricultural inputs. These movement restrictions are placing substantial stress on the whole of the supply chain. That's the product, but the movement of the inputs as well. For countries dependent on imported foods, these transport suspensions and movement restrictions have created disruptions in supply chains and shortages in the short term. The question is, are they going to last? Also, movement restrictions between villages, provinces and countries are preventing the delivery of those essential agricultural inputs. The road closures, blockages and checks are preventing smallholder farmers from selling products or buying inputs. And this is especially important with perishable products. It's resulting in loss. The big challenge here is that these transport suspensions may actually have a long-term impact as farmers move towards needing the inputs for their next crop, or inputs for their animals, or the seasonal cycles of fishing and aquaculture, feeds, fertilisers and chemicals. And indeed, some of these are critically low in some areas. Government interventions in food markets are placing a strain on domestic and international food markets. Global food markets for food staples, rice, wheat and maize, have been in remarkably good condition going into this coronavirus. They're generally stable and quite high production levels. But notwithstanding this, some important exporting countries placed restrictions on export of food staples to try to ensure adequate domestic stocks. Collectively, those actions have seen some global food market prices increasing moderately over recent weeks. So the response has not been as bad as it has been in the past, but it's something that we need to watch very closely as the pandemic continues. The other part of this is that domestic price and quantity controls have been imposed in some countries to manage the consequences of imbalances in supply and demand. In the medium to long term, these impositions of price and quantity controls being stockpiling, for example, could have severe consequences for on-farm production, market incentives and decisions made by producers. Again, as Patdedi said, there's rising and underemployment, and that's reducing the incomes of households and their ability to acquire nutritious food and contribute to the economy continuing. Now, in the Pacific, as an example, our country's very dependent upon both export markets and tourism. Both of those have collapsed. And so households find themselves with very little income to buy food. And one of the perverse situations we're all aware of is that in some areas, the poorest people spend the highest proportion of their cash on food. And so the loss of income into houses is then resulting in them having to make decisions around what food to buy and how much food to buy. And this is emerging in a lot of areas and countries, a direct impact of COVID-19, reducing the supply of nutritious food into households. Movement restrictions are leading to labour shortages for production and marketing activities within food systems. I don't need to go into this too much. In the medium to longer term, disruption to the scheduling of planting, as I mentioned earlier, and difficulties in accessing labour for harvesting could mean that these movement restrictions have a longer term impact even after they've been lifted. So we're going to watch that very closely. Existing threats to food systems are amplified by COVID-19. This is really has been a surprise to us, but when you look back on it, perhaps not so surprising. But at the moment around the world, there are some fairly significant threats to food systems that countries have been managing okay, but COVID-19 has reduced their ability to do that. An example was Cyclone Harold in the Pacific, which caused big devastation, but now the response to Cyclone Harold is shut down by coronavirus. Major diseases going around the world, animal diseases particularly, many countries are finding it difficult now to manage those because of logistics, lack of availability of medicines and so forth. And if we look at Africa and South Asia, you will be aware that there are very significant locust plagues there at the moment, insect plagues eating crops, and their ability to manage that has been severely hampered by coronavirus. 7, impacts are not evenly distributed across social and economic strata of society. Again, not a surprise, but something that we need to be especially focused on. The poor and marginalised groups in many countries are facing sharply increased food insecurity. And sometimes this is hidden through data being at a macro level rather than at a micro level. And we've learned from the previous food price crisis how severe this can be. So during the food price crisis of 2008, the significant growth in world food prices increased the number of undernourished people in the world by 14% in 2 years. So that was an increase of over 100 million people who were undernourished as a result of that. And that was hidden at the time and emerged with data that came after that. So groups who are already experiencing poorer health outcomes, food insecurity and uncertain incomes are likely to be more impacted by coronavirus. Impacts, this shouldn't be number 8, this should be number 1, to be honest. Impacts on food systems are gendered and have particular implications for women and girls. All over the world, in Australia, in Indonesia, in many other places, women drive the food security of households, and particularly focused on that. COVID-19 is exposing inequity across agricultural value chains and food systems all over the world. Evidence from, is showing that women and girls are disproportionately impacted in multiple ways, including impacts on their education, food security and nutrition, health, livelihoods and physical safety. As money into households is reduced, decisions are made by households around how to allocate the reduced resources. And unfortunately, that continues to be reducing the ability of, for example, young women and girls to continue education and have access to healthcare and nutritious food. We're all concerned about that and interested in finding out how we can strengthen that part. Accessing credit is becoming more difficult throughout food systems. And that applies to many of the points earlier. Without the credit, farmers cannot then provide the resources they need for the subsequent crop. It's an interesting thing happening in the world over the last 10 years that microcredit is becoming less important and commercial credit providers for smallholder farmers are becoming much more important. And this is driven by good data. What we don't know during the coronavirus is whether that commercial source of credit can continue to supply to smallholders despite the pandemic. Finally, there are human health implications of food systems remain prevalent and may be amplified amid the coronavirus. Again, pretty obvious, and this is related to nutrition. So, as I mentioned earlier, reduced access to good quality food, but also reduced access to medicines. So this is another example of a secondary impact from coronavirus that is emerging as quite a severe issue around the world. So that's it from me. Thank you. Terima kasih kepada semua. And I'm very grateful to being given the opportunity to speak with you all. So back to you, Ida.
So thank you, Pak Peter, for your presentation. I think it was very comprehensive. Your presentation giving us the real description of the real condition of agriculture due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I took some note. There are some similarities between Asia rapid assessment results in your presentation and also the Ministry of Agriculture policy that have been taken. For example, such as you mentioned about the rising underemployment is reducing income and low income households and their ability to acquire nutritious food. And Pak Dedi already said that we are the government of Indonesia have policy in social safety net. I think this there are some similarities and it's quite good. So we can learn more from your presentation, particularly for our policy, for other policy. And also, we learn much more about how to stop the global food crisis in Indonesia, in Asia, or in the world from your presentation. One of them that I really amazing is we should keep food supply chains functioning and also labor mobile and inputs flowing. So it is very interesting because after this, for the next presentation, we would like to hear the presentation about the migration, the labor mobile. And the title for the next presentation is Migration and its Impact of Local Food and Resource System from Polbangtan Bogor. So the director, Pak Siswoyo, time is yours, and you can introduce also your team that would be present for this session. Please, Pak Siswoyo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Terima kasih Bu Kapus. I would like to thank to Professor Dr. Didi Nur Samsi, SDG of Agricultural Extension and Human Resources Development Agency, and Dr. Ida Widi Arsanti as Director of Agricultural Extension Center. Agricultural Education Center, and also thank very much to all participants. This seminar paper with the title Migration and its Impact to Local Food and Resources System will be delivered by Dr. Arifin Tasrif, and then if there is any question, will be answered by Dr. Yul Bahar and Dr. Arifin Tasrif. Please allow me to invite to Dr. Arifin Tasrif to deliver the paper. Thank you. Silakan Pak Arifin.
Thank you very much, the Director of Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic, the Excellency Professor Dedi, and also Dr. Peter. Good evening, and to everyone. Allow me on behalf of the Director of Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic and Dr. Yul to deliver these presentations. The title of the presentation a little bit, the aliens to us, but we are trying to do our best dealing with migration and its impact of local food and resources systems. And among us will add the actual contribution in the small scale, the role and contribution of Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic within and after, I don't know when the COVID-19 pandemic will finish, but of course, in the small scale, we already prepare some, the factual action in the field. Next, please. There are 5-point presentation outline, which is the small introduction and current rise of food price productions and food constraint and the role of contribution and some recommendations. So next, please. Next. So come back to the second. Yeah. So okay, there are 2 points. Yeah, it's a big challenge to the Minister of Agriculture. So the first is challenging is how to meet the supply of food, the affordable price for the almost 280 million peoples. And also, in the one side also, while maintaining the welfare of farmers. It's both sides will be equal. They are very challenging to the government, especially for the Minister of Agriculture. To respond in the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that currently the COVID-19 pandemic is already in the third months after the first discovery in early March 2020. So many sectors are affected, but I just want to focus on how much affected to the agriculture sectors. Next. And next, please. And with regard to the title that during the COVID-19 pandemic, so the government, as a can be new challenge in food security in the certain areas if the government does not anticipate earlier. But I'm very happy since the Excellency Prof. Dedi already addressing the main policy of Ministry of Agriculture to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So data compiled from the various sources that indicated that millions labor migrants abroad will return to Indonesia. So this will be challenging to certain areas. And addition to the current data showing that around 4.2 millions unemployment due to termination of employment in various regions has been reported. And I would like to add that there is an estimation that will increase up to 50 millions. Yeah, I don't know when that the real situation to reach the unemployment up to 50 millions. So therefore, the migration in large scale due to the COVID-19 pandemic in the region might cause an increased food consumption. Then, of course, if there is no intervention for the government, food security disruption may occur if lack resource management systems. Next, so I just want to highlight the main food production in 2020. So this data is adapted from the DG of Food Security in Muhammad Shakir in 2020 that harvesting time of rice production shifting from March last year to April this year, and estimated the peak of harvesting is maybe should be on April. Next, please. And next. And an estimation of rice surplus from up to end of June 2020 is almost 3 million tons of rice. So that the staple food for the few months to go still, I mean, with food security, especially for rice. But hopefully that after June, I mean the farming system still, I mean, in a sustainable production up to the end of this year. Next. So how the food security is constrained to respond COVID-19 pandemic. So at some point, the possibility, which is the decrease of farmer data showing that now that the nilai tukar petani or farmer exchange rates now decrease little bit from 10.6 to 10.2 on March 2020. I don't know in the current situation for April and May. Hopefully that it is still, the upper 2 digit. And another constraint is the distribution of foods. Yeah, due to the restriction of movement of transportations, this will contribute to the food security. Yeah, in some area, because the current data showing that the deficit food, based on April, from one province to another province, this disparity, so disparity among the 11 main food. Another possible is the price food fluctuations. I think media already, showing everywhere that in different area, in different province, different district, may the price food higher in another area, but in another district is a very drop. But price of the food, yes, this is because, as I said, that movement restriction by a particular district, movement of transportation. Weather condition also perhaps may affect the food security. Why? Because even though now the season entering to the dry season, but some part of the province, for instance, in the
What happened?
Pak Tasrif, Pak Arifin, tidak terdengar. Pak Tasrif.
Sinyalnya kelihatannya kurang bagus, Pak Tasrif. Nggak bergerak. Coba bisa ditelepon Pak Tasrif dulu, Pak Kodrat. Pak Kodrat telepon Pak Tasrif ya.
Baik Pak, siap.
Okay, I think we're waiting for Pak Arifin Tasrif back to our Zoom meeting. Maybe Pak Yul Bahar or maybe Pak Director will add something for this presentation. Please, Pak Yul Bahar.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we continue with the next page, please? Can we continue? Hello. Yeah. This is some mitigation measure for food and security due to the migration to certain area. Pak Tasrif, if you can join, please you continue again. Yeah. Now I take over for some pages. Firstly, to identify the number of migrant labor with return to certain area due to COVID pandemic. Pak Peter already explained that most of the people will go to the urban or will go to the rural area. So we have to know how can they do they will do in the rural area. Secondly, is to identify food stock availability and food distribution system. And the third is to identify how much carrying capacity, daya dukung dari land carrying capacity, environmental carrying capacity, farmer and field extension, and also the availability of the agricultural machinery. So Sin already explained that the problem is the shortage of labor. So to avoid this problem, one of the escape activities is to optimize the utilization of the agricultural machinery. And the fourth one is to identify the potential availability of primary food and local food in the region. So now we should not only depend on the rice. If there is any the local food, we can explore, we can increase the production more. So we will not always depend on the right. Okay, next page, please. Next slide. So what is the follow-up action? This is follow-up action is already explained much more by Professor Dedi in the first presentation. I would like to move the next page, the next presentation, the next slide, please.
Slide.
Next slide.
Yeah, next slide, please.
Yeah, we will emphasize on this matter. We will emphasize on this slide what we have been done. What we have been done by Paul Bangkan Bogor, already directed by the director of Paul Bangkan Bogor. We already done some activities to make the action in the field area to minimize the impact of this pandemic. Firstly is the empowerment of the role of agricultural polytechnic students through facilitation of agricultural activities in the area student resident during the COVID-19 pandemic. So kita katakan ini adalah pendampingan. Kegiatan pendampingan sekarang sedang dilaksanakan oleh mahasiswa-mahasiswa di lapangan. Mahasiswa tingkat 1, tingkat 2, tingkat 3 sekarang ada di lapangan, they are in the field, so they will assist the exchange activities on the food production. They assist the horticulture production, especially for the vegetable and fruit, and also livestock and meat production. And the last one is how to optimize utilization of the agriculture machinery in the field in order to improve, in order to accelerate the land preparation, harvesting, and so on. The second one is to direct assisting to the field extension worker. Jadi mahasiswa-mahasiswa ini sekarang di lapangan sesuai dengan arahan dari pimpinan bahwa mereka harus membantu kegiatan-kegiatan penyuluhan di lapangan. So they assisting the field extension worker on the appropriate and up-to-date technology. Misalkan penggunaan IT, penggunaan online marketing.
Halo.
Halo.
Pak Yul.
Next page.
Are you still following me? Okay. Okay, please, Pak Yul.
Can you the next, please? Yeah. This is the third one. We already done by Paul Bangkan Bogor is community service activities through the empowerment of the farmer group, young farmer group on the non-governmental organization Indonesia. Kita melakukan pendampingan kepada kelompok-kelompok tani, kelompok tani, dan juga kepada pemuda-pemuda tani yang ada di Jawa Barat. And the next one is the encouraging the urban farming through the healthy hydroponic plant and smart farming movement. So this is the main icon of the Paul Bangkan Bogor. So our icon is how to make the smart farming, how to improve the healthy hydroponic plant in the urban area. The fifth is utilizing government agricultural land through partnership with the local community. Jadi melakukan kerjasama dengan masyarakat di pedesaan dan menggunakan lahan-lahan yang ada di kegiatan-kegiatan pertanian. The last one is the animal crop intercropping with vegetable crop or integrated farming system. In order to make the stabilize of the income, in order to avoid the risk, so we also introduce to the farmer to conduct the integrated farming system. Next, please.
Yes.
The next.
Habis.
One more. Yeah, this is the last one. The last one is our recommendation for from our experience, from our activities in the field. Our first recommendation is to strengthen partnership between agriculture development polytechnic with other agencies. This is very much important because the technology not only in our side, a lot of the technology is available in the other side. So we have to make the cooperation with them, make the partnership in order to take the technology and then we deliver to the farmers. The second one, encouraging partnership between Bogor Agriculture Development Polytechnic with private sector and second worker. So we have already done for this time being, make cooperation with extension worker in the field. Most first, mainly the farmers and the lecturer already done for this time being. The third one is develop and access local small-scale industry to produce more local food. So since we are not going to much more depending on the rice, much more depending on the staple food. We need to improve. We need to increase the production of local food. The fourth one is enhancing rural agriculture and worker to foster unemployment migrant to the agriculture sector. As already explained by the previous presenter, that more people, more migrants will come to the rural area. So we need to improve their capacity, their capability, and their skill to explore, to use the agriculture resources in order to improve the production. Then the last one is the need for international cooperation in various activity, in various of agriculture activities. As Mr. Peter from the Australia is from the Asia, maybe we can conduct much more cooperation in order to improve the agriculture production. I think that all, Bu Dr. Santi, our presentation. Thank you very much for this time being here.
So, thank you Pak Zulbahar, thank you Pak Siswoyo, Pak Director, and also Pak Arifin Tasrif. I don't know Pak Arifin Tasrif already come back to the meeting or not, because maybe already. Okay, maybe because of the signal.
Listriknya baru mati, Bu.
I see. So, from the presentation, we understand that the large-scale migration is a challenge, actually. The food security should be managed. And Polbangtan Bogor try to do the mitigation. One of them is try to identify the food stock availability and food distribution system. And in this case, Polbangtan Bogor also try to empower farmers to keep producing commodities by empowering the student that nowadays still learning from home, to facilitate and to do something to work with the farmer, assisting the farmers to keep producing the commodities, or in this case, rice, or in the paddy field, something like that. So thank you. Now we are moving to the next presentation by Polbangtan Yogyakarta and Magelang. So time is yours, Pak Rajiman. Please introduce yourself and also your team who will present about the human health implication of food system remain prevalent and may be amplified, aim to COVID-19 disruption. Please, Pak Rajiman, time is yours.
Terima kasih Bu Santi. Thank you, dear head of agency, head of education center and participation to material presentation by Mrs. Indah.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thanks to Prof. Dedi and also Bu Santi for the opportunity for me to join this wonderful programs. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, all participants in this webinar. What I'm going to talk today is about human health implication of food system remain prevalent and may be amplified amid COVID-19 disruption. Okay. Okay, when we talk about COVID-19, we know that the COVID-19 is bringing us to dramatic changes into so many sectors. For so many sectors such as economic, healthcare, transportation, education system, and also our food system. No less important is the potential for COVID-19 to impact local and global food system and their ability to provide safe, affordable, and nutritious food as well as sufficient incomes for people working in food and agriculture sector. When we discuss about food system, we have to note that the food system begins and ends with health and nutrition. Well, because as we see in this figure that the food system start from natural resources and input and end with health and nutrition. We know that all steps in the food system involves the human, involve people that the activities may interact with health and nutrition. If the health of the people is very bad, it will influence the productivity of every step of this food system. In the health science, nutritious food is very essential for the achievement and physical, individual, and population health. Likewise, in the another perspective, the from social science is revealing many dimensions of health, the behavior that promote health and the value of health in generating productive agricultural system. Okay, we will discuss about the step of food system little bit. First, the natural resources and input. So the food system is very close to agriculture because natural resources, we use land, water, and also sunshine, and input plants, pest control, knowledge. We know that if the natural resources and input it's not good quality, it will affect in the last or the will affect to the final product. And after that, the resources come to primary production and then transport and storage and exchange. And the product go to secondary production or we process into the food and then transport, storage, and exchange. These activities to make the food available and also at the time and the place and also at form desired by the consumer. We have to note that health is now considered as a primary goal to the end point of the food system. Okay, actually food system is not stagnant. We already listened about the explanation about food system from Mr. Peter, and the food system is a dynamic behavior system that can change in response to change in the behavior of the various decision makers. From now, the food system is totally changed because of the pandemic COVID-19. Although much past research and debate, we have focused on the impact of agriculture on nutrition. It is important to recognize that there are a two-way causal relationship between agriculture and health and nutrition. Health and nutrition may also affect agriculture and food system. For instance, energy and nutritional deficiency like infectious disease may influence food system by lowering the labor productivity. And also in the other side, labor productivity might also influence by infectious disease, bacterial contamination, and also the management of food system itself. Okay, the correlation food system.
Di samping itu juga suffering rate katanya tadi juga menurun.
Excuse me?
Lanjut Mbak, lanjut silahkan.
Sorry. Food system relation to human health and nutrition. The relation is very strong because we know that the all step of food system is conducted by people. The health is very important for people to do their activity. Here I will show you the interaction between food system, human health, and also nutrition. From here, we know that the food system, from energy and nutrient balance, and also from food safety and water safety. From energy and nutrient balance, the food system will influence what will happen during processing with the food. The food that maybe cause something, some illness such as growth retardation, anemia, blindness, chronic disease, and so on. And from food safety during the process, maybe the processing of food, maybe there we can find contamination by microbe such as bacteria, yeast, or virus, and also maybe the contamination come from chemical or toxic metal. All this area determine the health status of the people. So I will give you one example from the production and processing system here. The production and processing system is very close to the agriculture. From crop protection, better agroecological pest management in agriculture could help reduce pesticide use and thereby protect farmer from exposure of the excessive pesticide. For farmer get the protection because of the less using of pesticide, and for consumer is will be safer to get the safer food because free from toxin that come from pesticide. So from here we know that agriculture, nutrition, and health is have important link to natural environment. For another example, I want to tell you about the management of agriculture. As the unsustainable management of land, water, soil, and another natural resources lead to soil erosion. And then the result is a negative effect on agricultural yield. So it will influence the income as well as the health and nutrition. But in contrast, sustainable management of land, water, and preservation biodiversity can help to improve health, nutrition, not only directly, but indirectly also to maintaining the agricultural yield and income. Okay, actually, the researchers already divide the food system into 3 dimensions. The food system firstly influenced by external drivers that influence the global food system performance. Here, external drivers such as demographic, infrastructure, environmental, and also social culture. And then the second one is the core of the food system itself, such as food production, food trade, and also the consumer behavior. We know that consumer behavior during pandemic little bit changed because before people just care about how to fulfill their stomach, but now they more care about the nutritious of food. They looking for the more nutritious of food to fulfill their stomach. And thirdly, food system outcome that indicate how safe and healthy, sustainable and affordable diet can be reinforced and sustained. Here for outcomes such as healthy food and also such as now we very care to the sanitation. Now, how about the disruption of COVID-19 pandemic crisis in our food system? There are 4 significant issues that the food system should address in this new era. The firstly is, as a consumer, are looking to protect themselves and their immune system. by adopting the healthier diet, and then the availability of bioactive compound in food and functional food become very critical. So now the role of bioactive ingredients supporting human health is very important. The second one is about food safety. Food safety is a significant issue in order to avoid the virus between producers, retailers and consumer. And thirdly is food security, and the fourth is about sustainability of the food system itself. Okay, I will discuss about how health is very important during this pandemic. The first issue is the role of bioactive ingredients in supporting the human immune system or human health. We know that the consumption of food rich in vitamin and all functional food can boost our immune system to help fight the viruses. First, we know that the vitamin C, we have so many sources of vitamin C, such as we have local fruit as a source of vitamin C, such as orange, kiwi fruit, and also broccoli. We understand that these vitamins support the immune function, repair all body tissue, and restrict the susceptibility of the lower respiratory tract to infection. And vitamin A we can find it in carrots, spinach, and sweet potato. We already talked about umbi porang. Umbi porang also contain a high vitamin E, and it is higher than potatoes. And also umbi porang become a functional food because of glucomannan inside. Glucomannan is a prebiotic that is very important to our gut, and then it also can boost our immune booster. Next, for vitamin D and E. Vitamin D and E believe can boost our resistance to COVID-19. And then this is our habit in our country. During this pandemic, so many people looking for this kind of drink. Yes, jamu. Jamu is a term for traditional medicine from Indonesia, and we know that it's come from part of our plants such as rhizome, leaves, bark, and fruit. The jamu, popular jamu in our country, such as turmeric, ginger, and curcuma. We know that inside of this plant, so many bioactive component inside, such as curcumin and also its derivative, curcuminoid, and also found in the ginger. And I think there is so many amazing another bioactive compounds contained in these plants. So we have to explore more and more our medicinal plants to create food or drink that have a function, that have a good function for our body. Yeah, this is others Indonesian medicinal plants. We know that Indonesia is rich of medicinal plants. Indonesia Institute of Science have shown that there are about 30,000 out of 40,000 medicinal plants in the world. Imagine 75% plants, medicinal plants can be found in our country. So we have to explore how can this plant can be used to boost our immune system, and how we create this plant into the product that so many people like and consume it. For example, we have daun dewa, sambiloto, pegagan, and also we have rosella. All of these medicinal plants have bioactive ingredients that are very important for our body. Yeah, this is what we do. Polbangtan Yogyakarta Magelang, through the teaching factory, we already developed and already cultivate rosella, and we already harvested it during this pandemic, and we also make this rosella into the dried rosella and into the tea and for a functional drink. Yeah, we know that the bioactive compound in rosella, such as flavonoid and phenolic acid, and then anthocyanin, so many bioactive compound inside rosella. And from the research, I read the article that the plant-derived phenolic compound flavonoid quercetin have been reported to inhibit the enzymatic activity of SARS-3 chymotrypsin-like protease. And we know that this enzyme is very vital for the replication of SARS-CoV, and this could be suggested as a potential treatment against this virus. And we know that Rosella nowadays, the people use it to supportive care agent for patients with COVID-19 traditionally. And what we have another information about the food, about the functional food is we understand that the dietary supplementation with vitamin, lipid, flavonoid, and also others bioactive ingredients may be a tool to support human immune to against COVID-19. But until now, actually, there is still no substantial evidence that these bioactive ingredients can boost enough to our system, our immune system to prevent or to cure COVID-19. It needs to be more research. And then what about food safety with the pandemic crisis? Correlate with human health. Actually, scientists and researchers are still seeking information and evidence how COVID-19 is transmitted. Previous outbreak or related coronavirus showed that the food is not a route of the transmission. It's not the route of the transmission. But if the transmission is indeed possible, if an infected individual touches food and then shortly afterward another individual collect it and touch to their eyes or mucus or their mouth, in this case the virus transmission may happen. So the handling of packages should be followed by extensive hand washing or sanitizing in order to minimize any risk from touching food potentially exposed to coronavirus. And the FDA also suggested that sanitation, cleaning of surface is a preferred precaution for food restaurant and kitchen compared to environmental testing for the COVID-19 virus. Here, the sustainability of food system in the new era of pandemic crisis. We already discussed about it before, that food system affect human health directly and indirectly. So to maintain the sustainability, we have to increase food diversification. We have to look for alternative food source contain high nutrition. And also we have to increase food innovation and technology. We know that the current food system, particularly on protein source, we highly dependent on animal-based protein source that are, I think, are not sustainable enough from environmental point of view and also from health perspective. Because we know that the red meat consumption has been associated with the chronic disease. So now we have to seek alternative protein source everywhere, such as new plant-based source protein. We know that in our country, Indonesia, we have so many legumes that have high protein contents, such as jack bean, and then velvet bean, and then lima bean. We can explore to the new product that have high nutrition. Here the reshaping food system after COVID, I think from ICR already explained about that. Reshaping food system post-pandemic COVID. The first is reassessing food system. I describe this one from the 3 dimension of food system. First, 5
and
drivers.
maybe you can go a little bit faster. Thank you.
Okay. For the food system driver, we have the biophysical and environmental driver, demographic, infrastructure, and political and economic driver. This is already explained by Prof. Dedi, and also social cultural driver. And then about reshaping food system component, we know that consumer behavior during pandemic is changed. With lockdown, we notice a reduction of out-of-home consumption in fast food restaurant and an increase in home delivery of meal. This changing food habit can be reinforced to support transition toward healthier and more sustainable diet. And also reconciling food system outcome after pandemic. Yeah, we need to promote healthy food, and also we have to do sanitation, provision of collective services such as clean water and sanitation to fight against the rapid spread of virus infection. And here we can conclude that what we have to do to against this pandemic. First, we have to increase health effort to protect workforce along the whole food supply chains. And the second one, we have to extend social protection, provide solution for the most vulnerable that face the rapid loss of their income, spent mainly on food, for example, through one-off or multiple cash transfer or voucher via mobile payment system or other safety net programs. And also, the most important, we have to promote the healthy food. We have to offer acceptable and economically competitive products and develop functional food fortified with bioactive compounds that promote health and support consumer to boost their immune system. I think that's enough, and thank you for your attention.
So thank you, Pak Rajiman and Bu Endah for your nice presentation. So maybe I can a little bit summarize that maybe one of the way to improve the food system. It is very important to improve the food system in the pandemic COVID-19. Yeah, and then one of the ways is how to we can consume the foods. Yeah, the food rich in vitamin and also functional food that can boost the immune system. So it is help to fight the virus, the COVID-19. So thank you for the presentation once again. And then for the next presenter is for the Polbangtan Malang. So please your time, Pak Bambang Sudarmanto, Pak Direktur Polbangtan Malang. Please introduce yourself and also you would like to deliver the topic about the movement restriction and also how the impact for the production and marketing of the food system in Indonesia. So please your time.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Ida Widi Arsanti, Excellency Mr. Professor Dedi Nursamsi, Excellency Mr. Dr. Peter Home, to other speakers and all webinar participants. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, on the condition of the movement restriction of COVID-19, we can hold a webinar with hopes to overcome the impact of COVID-19. And then speaker from Polbangtan Malang is Dr. Sunarto. Thank to Dr. Sunarto for willingness to represent us. I gave it directly to the guest speakers. Please, thank you, Ibu Ida.
Ya, Pak Sunarto, please your time. This is your time. Please, Pak Sunarto.
Halo?
Pak Sunarto, time is yours.
Sebentar.
Are you joining already?
Dulu Pak Sunarto, unmute dulu.
Unmute ya.
Masuk.
Halo?
Oh. Halo?
Ya, silakan Pak Nato.
Oke. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good evening for all of participants in webinar this evening. Okay, my name is Sunarto from KEMENTAN Malang. I will say hello to Your Excellency, Mr. Professor Dr. Engineer Dedi Nursamsi MAGR, as head of Indonesia Agriculture Agency of Extension and Human Resources Development in Indonesia. And secondly, Ibu Dr. Ida Widiasanti SPMP as head of the Center for Education, Agricultural Education in Indonesia, and also hello, Mr. Peter Home, Dr. Peter Home in Australia as General Manager Country Program. Maybe in Australia as a night, yeah. Okay, and also to all participant webinar in this evening, good luck for all of you. My best regard to all of you. I will presentation about the impact of movement restriction for production and marketing activities within food system. Okay. Sorry, this without operator here. Yeah.
Okay.
As background, in the fact, for time being, Indonesia is the second highest country in the positive of the COVID-19 in Asia, under Singapore. A total, according to Mr. Pak Dedi, said that the total of the COVID case occur in Indonesia now is 23 more thousand in Indonesia. This the data yesterday. Meanwhile, 33 of thousand more case of COVID in Singapore. This existing condition in Indonesia. Next, yeah. And the spread of the coronavirus disease in 19 in Indonesia with the number of cases the death has increased and spread across region and across country and impacted on the political, economical, social, cultural, and the security aspect and the welfare of the people in Indonesia. Next, next please. Yeah, as the continued for background, the impact of the spread Corona-19 has resulted in certain circumstances that occur, so that the impact of movement restriction for production and marketing activities in food system need to be known, so that the interested parties take appropriate step. Next slide. Yeah, the definition and existing condition. What is the meaning by the large-scale social restriction? Restriction certain activities to resident in area was suspected to be infected with corona. In such as to prevented possibility the spread of the coronavirus disease. And next, this still a definition. Yeah. In Indonesia, this informed to Mr. Peter that the legal basis for operational large-scale social restriction in Indonesia is government regulation number 22 in this year, which refer to four kind of or type of the law. According to my media, this first is Article 17 paragraph in Indonesia is Undang-Undang Dasar 1945. Secondly, is about the law number 24 2007 concerning disaster and management, and the third is the law number 9 year 2015 concerning to second amendment of the law 23, and the last is the law number 6 of the 2018 concern of the health quarantine. This is the basic of the regulation for health the operational large-scale social restriction in Indonesia. The next page. Okay. Right. This definition, also definition and existing condition. Scope according to the law or regulation in Indonesia, the scope of the large-scale social restriction primarily there are three items. First is a school and workplace entertainment. Secondly, activities, and the third, activities in public place or facilities. According to this fact, in Polbangtan Malang, and the condition of the school, now I reported that degree one now is learn from home, and also the head of the accompaniment to the farmer, pendampingan terhadap petani. This the government program, and the second degree is also learn from home, and also accompanied with the farmer. The degree, the third degree is apprenticeship and also PKL or on the field, activities on the field. And the last, now the work, learn from home for what is the KIPA, mengerjakan KIPA. Yes. Okay. This what is the condition of the mahasiswa or my student in Polbangtan Malang. Besides of the primary aspects, so there are for aspect of development food system. Food system here, the definition is all activities in the production, special for agriculture production. Secondly, also all activities in the processing of the production of agriculture, transportation, and consumption. This primary element of the food system. Next, yeah. The aspect of food system beside the fourth of the item, according I had mentioned, so the governance and economic of food production also involve about the sustainability, the degree of which we what the food, how food production affect natural environment, the impact of the food on individual population health. This is the aspect of the food system. So, according this condition, that there is the program of the restriction of movement. So, all of the effect to this activity. Next, yeah, impact movement restriction. Yeah, according our observation on the field, especially for in Indonesia, impact of the movement restriction, the first is market price of agriculture product. So market price in agricultural product up and down, so makes confuse on the what is the public about the price of the agricultural product. This is a real condition in the field. The secondly, the supply chain is slowing. Also, beside the slowing of the supply, not enough for what is not enough according to demand water, demand supply. And third, farmer health. The farmer health also impacted by a restriction because the movement of the farmer is very, very restricted. For example, in the village, maybe every village has regulation, local regulation to restriction of the farmer. Agricultural labor also restriction to move to another country. Worker safety and personal protective equipment also not enough for the using of the work on the farmer. Declining demand from abroad, maybe direct impact from global marketing. So, according to the issue of the media, estimate agricultural production to decline by 6.2% to supply chain disruption. Also, investment of the agriculture sector is also expected to fall by 2 until 3.7%. Okay, next. Next, okay. That is the description for condition, definition, and also maybe impact of the COVID-19 in Indonesia according to my result of the survey. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
So, thank you, Pak Bambang Sudarmanto, Pak the Director of Polbangtan Malang, and also Pak Sunarto for your presentation. So now time is running very fast. Already 3 hours we already present, and now we are moving to the discussion session. So I will invite some of you to maybe you can ask something to our presenters today. And I will give the opportunity to Pak. The first is to Pak Silwanus. Pak Silwanus, are you there? Because in the chat, yeah, in the room chat, you already have question for two presenter, for Pak Kepala Badan, Pak Profesor Dedi, and also for Pak Peter. Please, Pak Silvanus. Pak Silvanus, are you still in this room meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, Pak Silvanus could be unmute. Pak Silwanus Talakwa. Hello, Pak. Are you there? Are you following us? No, maybe. Okay, thank you. Maybe I can give. Maybe I will give the other opportunity to Pak Habibi from Badan Karantina, from quarantine. You also have question for Pak Dedi and also for Pak Peter. Pak Habibi, are you still in this room?
Ibu Kapus boleh bertanya?
Pak Prabu.
Baik, Bu.
Apa? Silakan, Pak, silakan.
Yeah, thank you so much for the event today. I would like to ask Mr. Peter, you have so many difficulties based on the COVID-19 assessment, and I was wondering how can you keep up with the 80% of, or at least 71% demand for the export? On your presentation, you said that 71% of the agricultural production is for the export. So how can you still keep up with that? Do you have some kind of strategy to keep it up? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. I think all countries are dealing with challenges beyond any previous experience. In Australia's experience in the past, our export markets have taken the excess production that we have had from agriculture above domestic demand, and that excess production has gone up and down depending upon seasons, but also upon international demand. We're moving into new territory now. What I would say is that the impacts upon particular commodities will be quite different. So some of the commodities that we export have multiple and diverse markets. Others are for very particular markets. And so the issue is going to be, the answer to your question is going to depend commodity by commodity. Some of the markets have opportunities to innovate and diversify. Some of them do not. And so there's no simple answer to this question. Our Department of Agriculture is moving very rapidly to identify and work with industry around opportunities for market diversification. I would also say that the world is dealing with the issue very rapidly right now. But my personal view is that the bigger issue is what comes within the next 3 to 6 months. And in some ways that gives us an opportunity in that so long as we are aware that this is not over and that we need to be as providing evidence and data and support to our industry around the direction that the virus is taking, but also the opportunities in international markets, we have the opportunity to respond. So if I might give a quick example, some industries have the ability to put more of their product into post-harvest processed product. So diversify the end market of their product. Some do not have that capability. So it will depend. In Australia, some of our industries are going to suffer quite hard, particularly in the perishable sector, the sector where products are harvested and need to be relatively quickly. I'm aware, for example, in the fisheries sector, that this has hit the Australian industry quite hard, where there is an export market. Some of that industry has been able to diversify in selling more of their product into the domestic market in Australia through promotion and through targeting particular sectors of the Australian market. And also then they've had to reduce their catch. So every industry is going to have to look at the options they have for reducing productivity or matching productivity to the market that's available and innovating very quickly in that marketplace. So I'm sorry, I'm sure that's not exactly the answer you wanted. We're all struggling at the moment, sector by sector, to see what the opportunities will be to sustain each industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Peter. And then Pak Kepala Badan, there are some questions for you, Pak Kepala Badan.
Oke.
Ada beberapa pertanyaan untuk Bapak, mungkin bisa saya bacakan saja ya Pak, karena mungkin terlalu ramai begitu sehingga saya bacakan dari room chat yang ada. Jadi ada pertanyaan tadi dari Pak Raymond Siregar dari Payakumbuh, kebijakan dan program yang sudah dan akan dijalankan di Indonesia terkait dengan keamanan food supply seperti apa, Pak? Itu yang pertama. Kemudian dari Pak Habibie dari Badan Karantina, strategi Bapak dalam mengoptimalkan fungsi konsertani di tengah-tengah dampak pandemi COVID. Nah, ini bagaimana Pak? Di sisi lain, gerakan atau pergerakan manusia ini sangat dibatasi begitu. Bagaimana juga dengan pendampingannya. Nah, kemudian juga di sini ada Pak Haryadi ya yang menyatakan bahwa bantuan benih ini sangat perlu nih Bapak Kepala Badan untuk pertanian dan juga untuk bisa menyediakan 9 bahan pokok untuk kemudian bisa membantu para petani menghadapi COVID-19. Kemudian Pak Siliwanus ini juga menanyakan tentang kosratani, begitu ya. Bagaimana dengan modul-modul kosratani pada kondisi pandemi COVID. Nah, ini mungkin hampir sama dengan Pak Habibie tadi ya. Dalam masa pandemi COVID ini kira-kira apa yang akan dilakukan dan tentu saja pasti ada beberapa perubahan-perubahan untuk kemudian bisa mengantisipasi apalagi nanti kita akan menghadapi new normal. Seperti itu Bapak Kepala Badan, kami persilakan.
Baik, terima kasih atas berbagai pertanyaannya. Jadi pertanyaannya yang saya catat, saya pikir ini bagus sekali ya. Pertama ini dari Pak Raymond Siregar mengenai ketersediaan pangan. Yang sudah sedang kita lakukan adalah tadi saya sudah mengatakan bahwa ketersediaan pangan itu memang tugas kita. Kita harus pastikan bahwa ketersediaan pangan untuk masyarakat Indonesia itu betul-betul terjamin. Nah, yang sedang kita lakukan di dalam waktu yang cepat ini, SOS program, itu antara lain adalah dengan memastikan ya, distribusi pangan itu betul-betul lancar. Tadi saya sudah katakan bahwa COVID-19 itu betul-betul mengganggu atau merusak ya, sistem produksi kita dan sistem distribusi kita. Nah, oleh karena itu yang harus diperbaiki. Kementerian Pertanian bekerja sama dengan pemerintah daerah, pemerintah kabupaten, pemerintah provinsi, bekerja sama juga dengan terkait perusahaan distributor, misalnya ojol, misalnya Gojek, dan lain sebagainya. Juga bekerja sama dengan berbagai startup aplikasi. Ya. Intinya adalah mendekatkan antara petani sebagai produsen dengan masyarakat. Ya. Jadi melalui Toko Tani Indonesia, ya, Kementerian Pertanian kerjasama dengan daerah menyerap produk-produk pertanian dari petani di lapangan. Kemudian setelah menyerap, kemudian menjual ke masyarakat secara langsung. Menyerap tentu saja dengan harga yang layak, dengan harga yang menguntungkan petani. Kemudian menjual juga dengan harga terjangkau. Kenapa? Karena memang kita tidak mencari untung. Ya. Biaya operasional itu di cover oleh APBN dan APBD. Nah itu yang sudah dan sedang kita lakukan. Nah kemudian juga yang sudah sedang kita lakukan adalah terkait dengan social safety net. Ya. Kalau bantuan saprotan, benih, pupuk itu tetap berjalan. Itu memang reguler yang dilakukan oleh Kementerian Pertanian. Benih padi, benih jagung, ya. Kemudian bantuan saprotan yang lain seperti obat-obatan, kemudian ada perbaikan jaringan irigasi sebagainya, itu kan memang reguler. Setiap tahun ada, dan itu sampai saat ini berjalan terus untuk memperkuat ketahanan pangan kita, untuk memperkuat petani agar segera kembali ke sawahnya, dia melaksanakan aktivitasnya, tentu saja nanti kan melakukan produksi. Nah, produksi itulah sebetulnya pangan yang bisa menjamin ketersediaan pangan kita. Itu berjalan terus. Nah, kemudian juga social safety net. Nah, social safety net juga ini mungkin dalam waktu yang tidak terlalu lama akan segera kita lakukan. Antara lain, ya sebetulnya social safety net itu sebetulnya penguatan untuk utamanya petani. Ya, petani yang lahannya kurang dari 2 hektar. Antara lain, ya, ada kegiatan-kegiatan perbaikan jaringan irigasi. Nah ini dengan swakelola, ya, swadaya masyarakat, kemudian nanti Kementerian Pertanian ya mentransfer biaya langsung ke rekening petani. Biaya tersebut untuk apa? Ya biaya tenaga kerja untuk perbaikan gorong-gorong, perbaikan saluran irigasi, mulai dari primer, ya, tersier, sampai dengan saluran cacing. Nah itu yang sudah sedang dilakukan di dalam masa pandemi ini, terutama untuk menjamin ketersediaan pangan nasional. Ya. Nah kemudian bagaimana ini strategi konsrat tani ya selama COVID ini? Tentu sebetulnya betul-betul berubah. Perencanaan kita kan sebelum COVID-19, sedangkan pelaksanaannya setelah COVID-19. Jadi memang itu berubah sangat drastis. Dulu kita perencanaan awal habis-habisan di pengadaan IT, di saat yang sama juga peningkatan capacity building para penyuluh, ya, melalui pelatihan, melalui magang dan sebagainya. Namun begitu ada COVID, Kementerian Pertanian dapat potongan sampai 7 triliun, ya tentu ini berkurang secara drastis. Ya. Yang tadinya kita akan mengcover 3.600 BPP di seluruh tanah air, setelah adanya COVID, kalau tidak salah tinggal 400 atau 500, saya lupa. Jadi jauh berkurang, Pak. Jauh berkurang. Nah, kemudian di saat yang sama, tadinya kita sudah merencanakan pelatihan kepada penyuluh, kepada petani, bikin develop, segala macam. Nah, itu semuanya hilang. Tetapi kita lakukan melalui virtual. Nah, jadi ganti itu. Jadi metodenya ganti, ya. Kemudian juga kegiatan-kegiatannya tetap berlangsung, tapi metodenya diganti secara virtual. Jadi sekarang pelatihan-pelatihan petani, pelatihan-pelatihan penyuluh, pelatihan-pelatihan para UMKM, pelatihan-pelatihan untuk para praktisi pertanian berubah menjadi virtual semuanya sekarang. Jadi seperti itu ya perubahan-perubahan dan strategi. Strategi selanjutnya tetap kita berupaya memperkuat ya sarana dari BPP, sarana dari kantor dinas pertanian kabupaten kota dan provinsi. Ya, di saat yang sama tetap kita genjot ya capacity building untuk para penyuluh ya, mulai dari provinsi, kabupaten kota sampai dengan BPP yang ada di Pos Tani. Tapi itu kita lakukan meskipun dengan cara-cara virtual. Ya. Nah, Bapak sekalian, itu tadi terkait dengan bantuan benih, ya itu reguler, Pak. Nah, bahkan Bapak Presiden kan sudah menyetujui, ya. Kementerian Pertanian mengajukan 2 jenis bantuan sosial. Pertama, bantuan langsung tunai, Rp300.000 per orang per bulan selama 3 bulan Mei, Juni, Juli. Kemudian juga bantuan langsung saprotan. Nah, bantuan langsung saprotan ini juga Rp300.000 per orang per bulan, ya. Cuman peruntukannya namanya juga saprotan, berarti peruntukannya itu untuk benih, untuk pupuk, ya, kemudian untuk pestisida. Nah, jadi demikian. Artinya apa? Petani betul-betul mendapat cash ya untuk operasional. Di saat yang sama juga petani mendapatkan support ya sebesar Rp300.000 per orang per bulan untuk saprotan, untuk beli pupuk, untuk beli benih, untuk beli pestisida dan sebagainya. Ya. Jadi demikian saya kira. Nah, kemudian mengenai Kostra Tani ya. Sebetulnya modul-modulnya banyak sekali. Tadi sudah saya jelaskan bahwa Kostra Tani ini kan sebagai Center of Excellence, sebagai pusat data dan informasi. Ya, itu modul-modulnya. Artinya apa? Bagaimana caranya mengoleksi data? Ya, apa data saja? Bagaimana cara entry-nya? Bagaimana cara prediksi berdasarkan data-data yang sudah kita kumpulkan? Nah, kemudian juga sebagai pusat pelaksanaan gerakan pembangunan pertanian di daerah. Kementerian Pertanian, ya, dari semua Direktorat Jenderal, semua badan itu ada kegiatan strategis. Ada peningkatan produktivitas tanaman pangan, ada peningkatan produktivitas hortikultura, perkebunan, peternakan, dan lain sebagainya. Itu semua akan dilaksanakan di Kostra Tani ini. Nah, sebagai center of excellence dari gerakan itu ada di Kostra Tani. Jadi itu modul-modulnya. Kemudian dia sebagai pusat agribisnis, sebagai pusat konsultasi agribisnis, kemudian juga sebagai pusat untuk membangun kemitraan dan sebagainya. Jadi modul-modulnya sebetulnya demikian, dan dari modul-modul itu sudah kita siapkan submodul-submodul. Nah, namun lagi-lagi di tengah COVID-19 tentu semuanya berubah. Nah, tadi yang kegiatan-kegiatan secara langsung tidak mungkin kita lakukan. Ya, yang bisa kita lakukan ya secara virtual. Termasuk itu sekolah lapang, develop dan sebagainya tidak bisa kita lakukan. Tapi bisa kita lakukan secara virtual. Ya, bagaimana cara menanam yang baik, bagaimana cara memilih varietas yang bagus, bagaimana caranya menggunakan alsin yang baik. Nah, jadi perubahan-perubahan itu jelas terjadi, terutama dalam hal metodologinya. Ya. Jadi saya kira demikian ya. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak Profesor Dedi Nur Samsi, Bapak Kepala Badan SDM. So for the next question is for you, Pak Peter. I try to summarize some of the question for you because it is quite a lot. Okay. First question from Pak Silwanus Talakwa for Pak Peter. How the agriculture in Australia trend before pandemic and in this pandemic situation? This is the first question. And then there are also questions from Pak Priya, IPB. Pak Peter, does this pandemic change the consumer behavior in Australia? If yes, how do farmers and the middlemen respond to this situation? What strategies the government take to overcome to this condition? And also there is a question from Pak Hidayanto from Kalimantan Timur, from East Kalimantan. Is there any experience from Australia or maybe any other country in Asia or Pacific about the key success to manage of the pit and swampland for sustainable agriculture development? Maybe this is another alternative for food security, yeah. And also from Bubes Trisnamurti. We already know Bubes from the senior researcher from Badan Litbang. Pak Peter, how Indonesia secure animal source food during and after this pandemic? Okay, please, Pak Peter, you can answer that.
Thanks very much. A lot of questions. Just, you know, I've actually had a few texts with the people who've been asking those questions, but very useful to answer those for everybody in general. What were the trends in agriculture before and now with coronavirus in Australia? As I mentioned, in Australia, we had the particular challenge of a very long drought over the whole country. Australia is a very big country like Indonesia is, and that creates opportunities. It creates opportunities that if you have poor production conditions in one area, you can compensate with better production conditions in another. As a result, quite a lot of farmers in Australia will now no longer have a farm in one location, but they have 2 farms in different locations to produce to reduce their risk. But Australia has had a drought over the whole country for quite a few years, and so the trend before the drought, the coronavirus was of severely impacted grain production and very much reduced animal numbers in Australia because feed was just not available. In fact, very severe feed shortages. Then large parts of Eastern Australia were hit by the worst fires that we have had in history. That hit the small farmers very hard, the small dairy farmers, the diversified farmers. As I mentioned in my talk, it's somewhat ironic in a way that at the time the coronavirus has hit, we've also had a lot of relief from the drought. And so at a production level, many farmers are coming back online. Of course, they need to have the financial ability to be able to respond to the rain. But one of the good things that's happened in Australia, and I imagine this is possible in Indonesia as well, is that the banks, the private banks in Australia, have really stepped up. This has been a very positive thing that's happened, that they have stepped up and given debt relief, loan payment delays, and so forth. And I think this is recognising that it's in their self-interest that small and medium enterprises and farmers do not go out of business. And so the banks working with the government have together provided a financial environment that is more encouraging for farmers to respond to these good growing conditions that are starting to hit now. What's the trend in agriculture now? And this links to the second question, the change in consumer behaviour in Australia. During the coronavirus lockdown in Australia, somewhat interestingly, demand for food has gone up. And there may be many reasons for this, but supermarkets and food outlets have been very busy. The government has had a policy of working very hard to keep supply chains open. And that has involved making sure that all elements of supply chains are regarded as essential industries and are allowed to remain open, but with strict controls on how people can interact. So as a result, there has been no interruption in food supply chains in Australia. And that's partly because food supply chains are very sort of large and complex and perhaps industrial, you might say, in Australia. And the government has worked very hard to make sure that they're not interrupted. Panic buying caused the main problem in Australia, and it was not sensible, but people bought things, made panic. I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Ida?
Yes. I can hear you.
Okay. So there was panic buying, and it was not based upon shortages of food. A very strong role the government played here was reassuring consumers in Australia that there is absolutely no food supply problem. Now, Indonesia is a different, I recognise Indonesia is a very different situation, and there's a lot of wet market consumption of food in Indonesia and trading of food in Indonesia. I'll just tell you a personal story. My wife and I buy almost all of our food in Australia from a wet market, directly from farmers. It was very interesting to see how the government regulated our wet market. It was classified as an essential industry that must stay open, but it was also hit with very strong regulations around how people can interact in that market. And that has worked very well. So the combination of strong regulations, but to allow the market open, has really worked well. And so I recognise in Indonesia the big challenge around consumer behaviour and around the virus itself is in the cities there's mini markets and supermarkets. They're perhaps easier to regulate. It's the small markets that have become a bit of an issue. I should mention to all of you in agriculture, there's been some very interesting analysis around the highest risks for communication of coronavirus in agricultural value chains. Many of you will know that there have been big outbreaks of coronavirus around the world in meat markets. And a recent analysis seemed to indicate that the reason for this is meat markets tend to be cold, they tend to be wet, they tend to have a lot of people in them, and they tend to be noisy. And when they're noisy, people have to yell, they have to speak very loudly. And when you speak very loudly, there's a lot of potential for virus to spread. The evidence is around the world that the major transmission of virus has happened in households, not necessarily in supermarkets, but we really don't yet know about wet markets. So, I mean, these are questions we can't answer yet. But the question that came to me was the change in consumer behaviour. Yes, food consumption went up in Australia. The government keeping supply chains open meant that, in actual fact, there's been no impact apart from panic buying. What's the experience around the world about peatland and swamp land for agriculture and I guess producing more food for people? I think there's not a lot of experience, but I think the potential for using peatlands and swamplands for increasing food production is perhaps thought to be bigger than it really is. This is my personal view. The difficulties of managing peatland and swampland soils are quite big. In Australia, many of those lands, just like Indonesia, were drained of water and have been abandoned for agriculture because of problems with salinity and acidity. So I would guess, this is my personal view, is we have to be careful not to expect more from swampland and peatland than we could realistically get. Australia, ACR, is working with Indonesia in a very big project. It's a big project for us. We committed to 10 years of collaboration with Indonesia to answer this question. And that project started about 18 months ago. So it's a long-term program. Why did we make it 10 years? Because we realized it's a big question and we need to answer that together. So hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years, we will have more answers together, Indonesian scientists and Australian scientists answering that question. Finally, Bubes asked this question around how do we secure animal-sourced foods during the coronavirus? That's a really big and complex question, and I have sent quite a lot of information to Ibu Bes about that, just as we've been talking. But in short, it depends on, first of all, which sector of animal-sourced foods you're talking about. So if you look at it from the perspective of Australia, for example, we have animal-sourced foods that we sell to Indonesia. They come in the form of live animals, but they could potentially come in the form of frozen boxed meat as well. But the market up until now has been largely around live animals, and that's what's driven the market. Recent information has really indicated there will be increasing demand for frozen animal-sourced foods. So I would say to Ibu Bes that there are many opportunities, but they're going to be largely driven by the market. It's not driven by the technical opportunities, but largely by the market. And then I would also say to her, like I've just said before, a lot of animal-sourced foods in Indonesia are traded through wet markets. And so the question around how do we secure the market for animal-sourced foods during the coronavirus is largely around the government having a strong focus on the regulations around wet markets to allow them to remain open so that people can still get their animal-sourced foods but not be exposed to catching the disease. So thank you, Ida. Back to you.
Okay, well, many things that we have in this discussion. So thank you, Pak Kepala Badan, Pak Dedi, and also Pak Peter. Hope that your answer already satisfied for the participant who have question here, and maybe still many more questions that we cannot answer one by one, but I think after this we can notice and we can also deliver this question to you by email or by, yeah, something like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are already come up to the end of this international webinar. We had a very, very fruitful discussion. Thank you very much on that, and hope that this webinar give new knowledge and many also experiences, and also for sure we still have many homeworks, yeah. Due to our discussion, due to our presentation, we still have many homework. Many things should be done in terms of facing the new normal, the new condition. And even Pak Peter said that we still waiting for 3 or 4 years to have the new status of Australia and Indonesia after the pandemic COVID. And also, how is the condition in terms of food security, in terms of value chain of the communities, human health, and also the migration. And we have also still different roles in this case. We are as a researcher, we are as a government, as a teacher, lecturer, and also as a extension worker or as a farmer. So this is a very interesting discussion and also webinar in this afternoon. So on behalf of this committee, I would like to thank once again to the resource person, Pak Profesor Dedi Nursamsi, Pak Peter Horn, Pak Direktur Polbangtan Bogor, Pak Yul, and also Pak Arifin Tasrif, Pak Direktur Polbangtan Yogyakarta and Magelang, and also Bu Endah, and also Pak Direktur Polbangtan Malang, and also Pak Sunarto, as your presentation that you give and share for all of us, your experience, your knowledge, how to, what is that, deal with this condition due to the pandemic COVID-19. So once again, thank you, and see you all of the participants in the next international webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Iya, Bu. Oke, mohon izin Ibu. Oke. Ya.
Masalah pertanian adalah kebutuhan keseharian masyarakat. Tidak ada orang yang tidak butuh makan.
Jangan pernah engkau putus asa, karena aku ada di sini. Pastikan kita selalu bersama. Bersama pasti kita bisa. Kobarkanlah semangat.